After 10 years of living in the promised land and waiting on God's promise concerning a child, Mrs. Abram decided that since God was taking his time, not realizing how age was eroding their procreative ability, it was time to help him. She put together this plan that seemed so easy and convenient since everything was done in-house, nothing outsourced, no stranger danger. She disclosed the plan to Abram, and the man of great faith, like many men today, could not subvert the scheme of his beloved wife. Thus, the plan was kicked into motion. Everyone played their expected role, but as is typical in life, the unexpected reared its ugly head. Hagar, as soon as she realized that she was going to be the mother of Abraham's heir, decided it was time to quit being the maid. She was fixing for roles reversal, to become the mistress and put Mrs. Abram where she belonged, since the matron was unable to produce an heir. Abram watched the drama with the corner of his eyes, not knowing how to get involved without getting shocked, while Sarai pitied herself in her own corner, expecting her husband to stand up and fight for her. The entire household was watching this drama unfold, everyone waiting for someone to do something, except for Hagar, who was running in full-blown takeover mode. Sarai's plan wasn't working as she hatched it. Her dream of becoming a mother through her maid was backfiring big time. Hagar was no longer operating within the confines of her calculation, and she hadn't plugged in the possibility of an overthrow into that equation. The whole household was watching her humiliation, and nobody would do or say anything, including her husband. When she could bear it no longer, she pounced on the one she could attack. Her husband, of course. How can you stand and watch what this girl is putting me through and say or do nothing about it? You are the cause of it all. She was just supposed to conceive our child. Now become the mistress of your house at my expense. And now I am helpless before you too. God knows I meant well. May He judge you for letting this happen to me in my own house. Whoa! Guys, how many times have you been hit by the very bullet you have been dodging? It hit Abram hard. Of course, he felt helpless being caught in the middle of it all. He didn't bring the suggestion. He didn't tell the maid to misbehave, but now it's all his fault. While the architect of it all, who he was trying to please by participating in that ordeal, was now crying foul and blaming him for everything. Have you ever been caught in a twist like that, where something you accepted to participate in just to please the other person backfires and the blame is laid fully at your door? Abraham knew that was a very delicate situation that could ruin an entire household, so he treaded with caution. Still, feeling stuck and caught in the middle of something so explosive, he found a safe way out for himself. Sweetheart, you don't have to wait for God or for me to judge this matter. The girl is your maid, and nobody but you should be deciding what happens to your maid. With that, Abram bailed himself and returned to continue watching events from his safe corner. Without discussion, it finally dawned on Sarai that Abram has not switched loyalty like many men would do because a child was on the way. Make note of the following. Abram did not need to remind Sarai that she, not him, was the architect of a plan that shouldn't have been hatched in the first place. Of course, Sarai did not suffer amnesia over her role. Pulling those cards at that time wasn't going to help anyone or the situation. Neither did he blame her for what was happening. That would only pour fuel on the fire. You want to save, not burn down your relationship and home. Choose your words wisely. We have no idea how many times Sarai played the whole scene over and over again in her mind. How many nights she stayed up, drenched in tears, regretting the move she made to help God. Please get your journal. How have you tried to help God fulfill His promises in your life? How did that pan out? What did you learn? Trust me, I've tried it a good number of times. It never worked. It only gets things more complicated and wears us out. So save the energy, please. No doubt Sarai learned her lesson, and Abraham's response confirmed what she needed to hear, that she remains the wife and mistress of the house, irrespective of her reproductive status. How many couples have blamed their spouses, themselves, and third parties for things gone wrong in their home? How many couples have given up on their marriage based on their assumptions of events without sitting down to have that essential discussion with the other party? How many homes have been overrun and overtaken by ambitious third parties who exploit their advantages while the rightful party throws in the towel and walks away without fighting for the peace, the safety, and survival of their relationship and home? Dear couples, nobody can come between you two except either or both of you let them in. And invaders can only go as far as you allow them. May we learn to communicate with each other before it's too late. And may we empower each other for the preservation of our homes instead of empowering ambitious strangers who are coming to divide and conquer. God won't come down from heaven to do for us what we should do. It is our problem, not God's. We have to stop avoiding or ignoring it and face it. We have to do what we can and trust God to help us with that. When we have done the best we can, God will also step in to help with the ones we can't. Feeling loved and empowered by Abraham's affirmation, Sarai took her place and began to call the shots once again, except that this time it was no longer the once nice mistress in charge. It was an offended bear returning to claim her spoil, an angry lioness taking charge of her den, a woman almost displaced, recovering her voice and her place. The hammer of Sarai's refreshed authority hit the ambitious maid so hard, and once she realized that the master was not on her side, not even for the sake of what she considered was her biggest advantage, the pregnancy, she bore the wings of dusk and away she flew. Some of us have to lose the blessings we took for granted to realize their importance. For some, they get a second chance, while many others don't. Hagar got a second chance after she had an encounter with an angel who helped her rethink her choices. Some ladies feel that getting pregnant for a man is the key to his heart and kingdom. Unfortunately, for some men, it is. But for Abram, Hagar could clearly see that the pregnancy did not change her status before her master and mistress. On her own, she chose to return to them and to resume her duties as the good maid she used to be. It didn't matter what Sarai or anyone else did or not. Hagar had learned her lesson, and armed with God's promise for her and her son, she served them until her son was born. Let's get that journal again for some reflections. How would you rate your relationship with your spouse on the scale of 1 to 10? How would you rate the communication between you two on the same scale of 1 to 10? Seeing how communication can make or mar a relationship, how can you improve on that? Are there issues or someone coming in between you two that you don't know what else to do? Have you talked to God about it and invited Him to help you? After you talk to God, you need to talk to each other, because God isn't coming down from heaven to talk on your behalf to a spouse you are refusing to discuss such a pressing issue with. God is not our servant we can send here and there to do what we are avoiding. You two need to sit down and talk. While some of us are cooking up plans on how to help God with things we think He is not up to speed on, others just sit and do nothing in the name of waiting for God, whereas God is waiting for them to step up so He can help them. Here's a lesson I learned recently. I was thanking God the other day about how He was helping me with the videos. I have grown so much in the months I resolved to serve Him in this arena. I have learned so much, and every week I set dedicated times for training so I can keep improving. As I was thanking God, He began to talk to me how people come to Him asking for His help only to dump their problems on Him, expecting Him to do everything, including what they should do. Are you one of those who tend to dump your issues on God or on those who offer to help you? To help someone means to support them. The fact that God has promised us victory does not mean that we go to bed and fight or work no more. No, it means that whatever we do, we go about it with the understanding that God is there for us and His grace is sufficiently available to help us. Don't just pray and resign without seeking to find out what you should do and give it your best. God is our helper, not the leader of our lives. He will lead through us, but we have to let Him through our trust and obedience. God will not do more than we allow Him to do in and through us. God will not do for us what we ought to do. Paul encouraged us in Ephesians 6 to be strong, to put on the whole armor of God and do everything we can. And after we have done those, to stand and to keep standing firm in the faith, faithful to the end. We don't help God. He helps us. God needs nobody's help. So quit trying to help Him and don't dump your issues on a helper. Trust God and His word. Focus on what you should be doing and give it your best. God will step into the places you can't and help you get through. Be encouraged. Do your best. And after you have done all you can, stand. Like our brother Paul said, stand therefore. Check out the links and the scriptures below for additional help. Feel free to share your thoughts and answers in the comments. Be inspired. You are a star, and it's your time to shine. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with family and friends. Jump in and join me in the next video, still on this series of New Beginning, titled, God, Tell Me Something I Don't Know.